We're back, boys. We got some more trades, including the rebuilding Philadelphia Flyers. That's right. I think it's official. The Philly Flyers are officially a rebuilding team, even though they're only 6 points out of that final wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference, trading away a pair of their older veteran defensemen. So I want to talk about the Philadelphia Flyers here. 2 trades. Philly traded Timonen into the Chicago Blackhawks. In return, Chicago traded back a second-round pick in this year's draft and a conditional 4th-round pick in next year's draft. They also, in a separate trade, traded Braden Coburn to the Tampa Bay Lightning in return for Gudas, a 1st-round pick in this year's draft, and a 3rd-round pick in this year's draft. So I want to talk about both of these trades from the Philadelphia Flyers. First, we'll talk about Timonen. And what Chicago gets from this trade is, simply a bona fide veteran blue liner in Timonen to help out their Stanley Cup run. Yes, he hasn't played at all this year due to blood clots. He's been injured the entire year, right? So he's got to get back up to game shape. But this guy's got a wealth of experience. So in my opinion, he gets the benefit of the doubt. Just get him back up to game shape, get him a few regular season games in there, and his experience will shine through, in my opinion, right? So he gets the benefit of the doubt. And also, it helps out the Chicago Blackhawks because he's only got a cap hit of $2 million, and it ends this year. So it's clearly a rental player. So don't worry about his age. Don't worry about his health. It's a rental player. Just look what he can bring to your team on the ice this year, right? If there are any Chicago fans thinking that this is a bad deal, just ask any hardcore Philly fan just how good this guy actually is. Don't worry about his age. The cup run will be a long one if you guys are going to go deep. I know with Patrick Kane going down, right, it's gonna be hard, but if you guys are got your sights on that Stanley Cup, it's going to be a long run, and you're going to need, what, 8 capable, maybe 7, but like 8 capable defensemen to go all the way for this to work. So I think it does work out for Chicago. I don't think he's going to get top 2-time or anything. They still have Seabrook and Keith, and I was reading up, they said that he was practicing alongside of Seabrook, right? So just another depth defenseman for the playoff run. You guys are a Stanley Cup contender. You're acting like it. So I think the trade does work. Don't get down on losing the 2nd and 4th round pick. Go for it, man. Look at all these other teams that are giving up their draft picks to go for the Stanley Cup this year, man. Go for it. LA might not even make the playoffs, so hell yeah. You got to take advantage this year. And for Philadelphia, it's simply a rebuilding trade. You're unloading a 39-year-old for a 2nd round pick and a 4th round pick. I don't really need to go into too much detail. It makes sense, right, Philly? Solid rebuilding trade right there. And you know what? You got a lot for it. To get a 2nd from a guy who hasn't played at all this year, Chicago's putting a lot into Timonen and hoping that he comes back from it. He should come back from it, right? But I think it's a good bargain for the Philadelphia Flyers. And now we'll jump off to the 2nd trade, which was Philly trading Braden Coburn to Tampa for Gudas, a 1st in 2015 and a 3rd in 2015. First, we'll talk about Tampa Bay, and Tampa is clearly gearing up for a deep playoff run. By picking up Braden Coburn, you simply upgrade Gudas, right? And now, Jesus, Tampa Bay is a very big defensive core. I mean, they already had Ben Bishop, but now they got Victor Hedman, who's 6'6". Schuster, how do you pronounce that name? I don't even know, but he's 6'8", and now you got Braden Coburn, who's 6'5", right? So the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're going to be a tough team to play against come the playoffs, man. So I think it's clearly just an upgrade for the playoff run for the Tampa Bay Lightning. But the question is, will Braden Coburn resign, or will he just be a rental? I mean, he's making $4.5 million right now. He's an unrestricted free agent in the offseason, and he's 30 years old, which means he's going to want to get paid. He wants to get his big-time contract, and this is going to be his retirement contract, basically. I'm not saying that he's only got like 5 or 6 years left in him, right? But 30 years old, you want to get paid, for sure. It's time to make money. So if it's just a rental, then it's a 1st and a 3rd for a rental, which might be a little bit much, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens in the playoffs and in the offseason from the Tampa Bay Lightning's perspective, right? And when it comes to Philadelphia, what did they get in this trade? Again, just like the Timonen trade, it's simply a rebuilding trade. You can't let Braden Coburn walk, right? He's an unrestricted free agent this year. You can't let him walk, but you don't want to get stuck with another big-term long-term contract, or another big long-term contract in a 30-plus-year-old player. That's what Philadelphia has been doing for like the last how many years, right? Philly's got to get a culture change where they draft players, they give these players, good team-friendly contracts, and when they've earned them, like a Claude Giroux or a Voracek or a Simmons, then they get paid, right? But you got to stop going out and getting these free agents or giving these guys big-time deals. It's not working out over there in Philadelphia, right? So yeah, you can't let them walk, but you can't get stuck with them again. So that's why I think it's a good trade. And, you know, Philly has got to get its contracts under control. They need to bring in a young player through the draft and not through trades or free agency, right? So again, the culture change in Philadelphia, I think it's a good trade. If I have to rate both of these trades, I'd say Philly wins in the Chicago trade. Obviously, if Chicago wins the Stanley Cup, then they win the trade, right? But that's it. If they don't win the Stanley Cup, Philly wins the trade because you got 2 draft picks. And with the Tampa Bay trade, I really think Philly won that trade. Again, if Tampa Bay is able to go on a deep playoff run and sign Braden Coburn and everything works out, he ends up having a great more 3, 4, 5 years, then hell, that works out for them. But I still think that the Philadelphia Flyers going down this rebuilding path, I think it's a really good trade for both of those players. Unload the older veterans and get some young 20-year-old players in there and start playing, start growing. All right, and you know what? I'm calling them a rebuilding team, but again, they're only 6 points out of the wild card spot. I wouldn't say that they're giving up on the season. They're just moving the players that they know they don't want or are not a part of their plan for the next 5 years. You know what I mean? So I don't think that they're giving up on the playoffs, but they're simply just making the decision these guys are not going to be here. Let's get rid of them. Let's get something back for them. And I think it's a great 2 trades for the Philadelphia Flyers. All right, so boys, let me know what you think about this one. And yep, more trades coming.